T-Dog, J-Boy, and me, I'm Lugs. Our pride and joy is pumping our mugs. Be careful, kids, it could get rough. We're flipping our lids on sports and other stuff. Welcome to Sport Weasel Central. I'm Lugs.
I'm J-Boy.
I'm T-Dog.
Yes, sir. It's sports and other stuff. You know, we have the prediction machine back on tonight for the NFC West. Other headlines, Kyler Murray hit the jackpot. And wait, what? A little loud on that. Chicago Bears are moving to a Soldier Field dome. Could it be? Maybe, maybe not. Or is it just a bunch of malarkey? But let's kick it off. Speaking of training camps, they're open now, and we're just weeks away from the NFL season's first kickoff. So it's the NFC West tonight. Last year, here's how it went. The Rams were 12-5, the Cardinals 11-6, Niners 10-7, Seahawks 7-10, and the Bears are still playing. Okay, enough of that. So what will happen this year in the NFC West? Well, that's where we come in. That's where we earn our pay. Lug, start us off the NFC West for 2022-2023. Rip it along, baby. Malarkey.
Well, I don't think they'll do as well as they have been because they got to face off the AFC West in a lot of games. But starting at number one, I'm going to go against sort of tradition. I still think the Rams will be number one. I mean, they've upgraded themselves in several ways, and Matthew, he can only get better. They've added Bobby Wagner and Allen Robinson. Aaron Donald decided not to retire. Cooper Kupp. So I have them winning the division at 11-6.
11-6. Okay, liking it. So one less win than last year, though. How about that?
Yeah, I think it's a little tougher schedule.
All right, T-Dog, your team first.
I have to agree with Lugs. I have number one coming in, the Rams. Just, you know, I know they lost Odell, but who's to say they won't get him down the road again? And obviously they lost Robert Woods, but I think on some levels they definitely upgraded with Allen Robinson. Taking Robert Woods' place. And again, I know he's 31, but Bobby Wagner probably still has a little juice in his tank, but in particular to stick it to the Seahawks, he's going to be motivated this year. And just when you look at their backfield, Cam Akers, I was coming off an Achilles late in the year and he didn't look right, but I think he'll be 100%. He looked dynamite 2 years ago. And, you know, Darrell Henderson and Kyren Williams as like essentially kind of satellite receiver backs. It gives them an extra dimension out of the backfield. But I look at you kind of like Lugs hit on it, just mainly like you look at them. I know they lost some pieces, but still their D line is still one of the best in the NFL with Ashawn Robinson is just a mountain that stops would-be runners. Greg Gaines gives them pressure and some stoutness. But the main thing is Aaron Donald. I mean, he's the most dominant current pass rusher. He's possibly the best player in the game. And he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. So, and again, this shows you how I think good they are overall. Their weakness is their O-line, but that mainly just has to do with losing Andrew Whitworth. I know he was 40, but he was still playing at a high level. But still, it's going to be hard. Joe Noteboom is going to take his spot, so it's going to be big shoes to fill. But still, they have Rodney Hutchinson at center. And they have Rob Havenstein at their right tackle. So their line is still pretty solid. I just kind of worry about that, particularly with Matthew Stafford. He is mid-30s, so you worry about if some of the pressure that's going to come his way, that if he gets hit because he doesn't have that just essentially eraser in Whitworth, what that can affect. But I have them going 12-5, maintaining their record and winning the division.
12-5, all right. Let me guess. Lugs, you're going to have the Niners next. Guess?
Yes, you would be correct.
You are correct, sir.
I'm a little iffy on Trey Lance, but they've announced that he is the guy.
Yeah.
So they'll have to finally build that offense to fit him. And I would assume that they will get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo as soon as possible. I don't know why. I've said before, I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo, man, has consistently been in the top 10 quarterbacks in all categories. But I still got to go for the 49ers. I'm going to have them. They will make the playoffs at 10-7, I think.
10-7. All right.
Yeah, I agree with Lugs. I mean, I guess the big part of trepidation with this team is Trey Lance, and I think he'll definitely have some ups and downs. But if they can get him rolling, then they could possibly compete for the NFC West. I mean, that's the main thing, and you've seen it in the past. I mean, I say what we will. I know we haven't seen a lot of Trey Lance, but I'd say his talent ceiling is better than Nick Mullins or CJ Beathard, and Kyle Shanahan had success with both those guys to varying small degrees, but still, I think just with the pieces around him, with Ayuk, Debo Samuels, and George Kittle, like he's gonna have success. And the running game, regardless of who the running back is, they'll always have a running game with Shanahan. So I don't really worry about that. I think Trey Lance will be good. It just depends on like how good he is. I think there'll be some accuracy issues to some degree. He'll make some bad mistakes. But like I said, if they can level that off within the first month, then they could possibly take the NFC West. Just because when you look at their defensive line with Bosa, I mean, he's just a monster off the edge, particularly the 2 of the 3 seasons he's been healthy. I mean, he's been just a wrecker. And then Eric Armstead, he was essentially outside and they move him in, and he gives them consistent pressure up the middle, which always gives teams fits. The one guy that's kind of a question mark, who they let DeForest Buckner, they traded DeForest Buckner to the Colts, and they essentially wanted to replace him with Javon Kinlaw. Javon Kinlaw was out with an ACL injury last year. And if he can recover from that ACL and become, even to some degree, a DeForest Buckner, that can help their line. And then they signed a rookie Drake Jackson to essentially be a complement to Bosa on the other end. I look at their secondary, though, outside of Travarius Ward, who they signed from the Chiefs, and Jimmy Ward, their safety, it's pretty iffy. I look at, they have Darqueze Dennard, who had some good years with Cincinnati. Hopefully he can revive his career. And Jason Verrett, who's a very talented corner, but he always has big injuries. He's coming off a torn ACL. If he can recover, then again, that could be another reason they compete to take over the NFC West. I have them at 11-6, and they're a wild card.
Wow. We'll talk a little bit more about Jimmy G and some ideas, but let's move it on down the road here, Lugs. What do you got after the Niners?
Well, I've got the Cardinals. Kyler Murray got his big payday, I suppose.
Yep.
But they just, I don't know. After watching him last season at the end of the season, well, first of all, he's not going to have DeAndre Hopkins. So he's got one less premier receiver. So Marquise Brown needs to step up, I would say. But anyway, I've got him in third place, and I've got him 1 over 500. I've got him 9-8. I just I don't have faith in Kyler and Cliff Kingsbury putting it all together at this point.
You've been down on Kyler, man, since the guy was about 7 years old, I think. Am I wrong about that?
Well, at 7, he was the same height he is now. So.
Oh, jeez.
That's worth the rim shot right there.
Oh, man.
He missed that growth spurt. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
All right, T-Dog, get us out of this hole, please.
Well, I don't know. I might be wallowing the hole with Lugs down there. I'll say Murray, I think in some levels, and we'll talk about it more so a little bit later, but Murray, I think on some level deserved his big payday just because of how special a playmaker he is, between how good a deep ball thrower he is and obviously his ability to use his legs. But I think the reason they were hesitant is because of durability issues and how much they believe he's a leader. Cliff Kingsbury, I mean, I hate, and look, I'm still going to be hard on him, but I will at least give him this. I think he's a talented OC. Unfortunately, he's a talented OC who's asked to be a head coach. So that's a problem. That's a big problem. His teams always seem to fall off in the second half as teams adjust to him, and he just has no counter. And this goes back to college. This is not just a problem with the Arizona Cardinals. This goes back to Texas Tech. Obviously, Luggs kind of touched on it. Hopkins gonna miss the first 6 games, but still receivers their strength because getting Marquise Hollywood Brown. Obviously, they play together in Oklahoma. They should have kind of some chemistry going. And he is explosive. And even, going back to Lamar, like he had a chemistry with Lamar. Like he is talented. It's just, I think the Ravens don't throw the ball enough that his numbers could have been even more impressive if he played in an offense like the Cardinals where they're going to throw the ball a fair amount of time. And, AJ Green isn't what AJ Green used to be. He's in the twilight. Still, you go back and look, he played well last year. I mean, he's not probably what you want him to be, but still he can get you 800, 900 yards, probably 6 or 7 touchdowns. And the X factor to some degree is Rondale Moore, who had some injury issues last year. If Rondale can stay healthy, we saw what he could do as a true freshman at Purdue. I mean, he essentially single-handedly beat Ohio State, just how dominant he was as a receiver. So they are flush full of wide receivers. So if they're missing DeAndre Hopkins, they're going to be fine for a few games. The one thing that concerns me is their defensive line. Speaking of guys in the twilight of career, J.J. Watt, I mean, just how many serious injuries he's had over the last few seasons. I don't know how much is left in the tank. And then you look at Zach Allen. I mean, he's solid. And then Lawrence is raw, but still feels like his ceiling is he's another Allen. Like they don't have a lot of strength. And they have some talented linebackers, but, they're still green. And then their corners, I don't know. Their safeties are good with Buda Baker, but you look at their corners are solid, but I don't know. I just think I have the same record as Luggs. I have them going 9-8 and missing the playoffs.
You guys have eerily agreed on most of these predictions here so far tonight. It's an unusual time in our broadcast history. Okay, Luggs, that leaves one team, the Squawks, the Seahawks from Seattle.
Yeah, I wish them a lot of luck. I mean, who do you choose? Geno Smith or Drew Lock as quarterback?
Yikes.
I think it's time for old Pete Carroll to chew that gum on down the road right there. I don't think they have much left. Their defense is depleted. Offensively, it's just they don't have anybody. So I've got those boys. I got them going 6-11.
6-11 for the Seahawks. T-Dog, do I hear 7? Or do I still hear 6? Or do I hear 5? 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. 6, 6, 6.
A little lower than that. The kind of like what Luggs is saying, Pete Carroll, I think he's a good coach and I have him scrapping, but a lot of the problems with his team starts with Carroll and Schneider. This roster is just talent depleted. There's not a lot there. I mean, I look at the team, they have weaknesses or points of drastic change and just in terms of the roster and units at quarterback, O-line, D-line, linebacker, and corners. I mean, that's pretty much every unit. So, and to answer the question that Luggs proposed at the beginning, Geno or Lock, it's Geno easy. I mean, look, Geno is never going to maybe be a superstar, but Geno's played solid. Geno played solid in the 3 games that he played last year. He's not ever probably going to be more than a solid backup, quasi fill in the gap quarterback for a year, journeyman. But man, I just think Drew Lock is some of his physical capabilities are fun to watch. He is so inaccurate and his decision-making is so bad that Vic Fangio, I mean, even if Bridgewater got injured last year, like they're just like Bridgewater just hand the ball off. That's how much they do not trust Drew Lock with the Broncos.